signature. Folks, this is very potentially a strong tornado that is now about to be on the ground. I think what we are dealing with now at this point, we have had this enormous rotating wall cloud that we have visually seen on our cameras. These are the kind of setups that produce the big bad tornadoes.
Tell me, did this one just pop out of nowhere? I feel like, you know, we didn't really see it coming.
We had a little seedling.
You saw it coming.
We saw it, yes, to an extent. It was in the Western Caribbean for a while, really not organizing much. And then as soon as it hit the Gulf of Mexico, now it is exploding. And here we are all of a sudden.
But if it begins to swing west, that becomes a problem here.
If it begins to swing west, all of a sudden we've got a track that takes this through South and Southeast Alabama. Our impacts even here in Montgomery would be much more significant. I need to bring up one more thing here. Let's see if we're starting to get some signs. Oh boy, that is not radar indicated anymore, folks. That is a debris signature. Even though we don't have it yet in the warning, we're going to tell you that is a confirmed tornado on the ground right now. We have a tornado on the ground now, we think, just southwest of downtown Wetumpka. The time is now. You're out of time. Wetumpka, you've got to be in that state. Look at that. Goodness gracious. Lee, that is the most pronounced signature that we have seen out of this, out of any of the storms that we have had so far today. You are looking at a significant signature of a tornado right now, right over downtown Wetumpka. I would be shocked if that wasn't a tornado on the ground right now. You see that, Lee? Look at toward the right side of the screen here. In the control room, can we pan to the right a little bit with this? Oh. A little bit more left, if you don't mind. Boy, this is asking a lot, I know. Look at this. You see the low-lying clouds there. Go a little bit more right if you don't mind. We're going to follow this area right here. Keep going to the right if we could keep panning with this. Keep going a little bit. There it is. I think that might be it. You see that right there? All right, so downtown Montgomery included in a severe thunderstorm warning that is primarily going to be for the threat of damaging straight-line winds. Secondarily to that, at any point we can spin up a tornado out of this whole mess. Again, the atmosphere, the environment is supportive of that kind of thing happening. We're going to get a new scan here, I would figure, within the next 60 seconds or so. You're going to watch this center of rotation, this possible couplet. It's going to jump here right over 331, and that's lots still in play. Our morning is not done yet, and I have a feeling we may not be done yet with a few of these warnings that may fly. A lot of lightning starting to ramp up in this storm just north of Elba, which is kind of getting our attention. This is often a red flag for us that we need to keep an eye on this with regard to severe weather potential. And when you have a storm at this depth, obviously, we've got to at least entertain the possibility for some severe weather here, and no doubt we are doing that.
Now almost a due north component, a sure sign that Hurricane Hermine is scooting off to the northeast. Eventually, these winds will be coming from west to east and then southwesterly by tomorrow. Really is remarkable. It's a big old spin, a big old circulation, and we are flat in the middle of it right now. Of 3 here, the hotel that we were staying at, when we got there a little bit after 11 o'clock our time last night, we didn't have power at 80% of that hotel. In about an hour, it was 100% as transformers were pop, pop, pop going all over. Because
the radar out of Tallahassee has now gone down. And that is something I think we're going to expect a lot more of as this thing continues to work its way ashore.
Start here. And you are just in complete slide mode. And that is how every road in Andalusia is. Folks, if you have any intentions of traveling this morning, it's our advice to just go ahead and cancel that. Slice it here. You know what, if you don't believe me, let me show you exactly how thick some of this ice is. We're right alongside the roadway here. I'm going to break off a couple of chunks here if I possibly can. This is what you are driving on.
I have taken it upon myself this morning to try to get you a little bit in the Christmas spirit. You know where this shot is? This is Clanton, Alabama right now, folks. It is snowing at a moderate clip here.
Hey, Morgan. Well, it's snowing. That's kind of been the going here in Verbena. You've got to meet my new friend. We've been very busy over the course of the last hour. So, hey, Morgan. Yeah, I'm still in Verbena. We've been working really hard around here for the last few hours. I'm still in the process of part of that hard work. What continues to fall and what has already fallen is now going to freeze. It's no longer going to be this slush that is barely able to survive without melting. This is going to turn into hard ice in some cases. First problem will be bridges and elevated surfaces.
Eric Snitil is standing by, and Eric, how are things looking this afternoon?
Hey, John, I'm kind of perched high and dry here along the riverfront. What I've got to my left, what I've got to my right, areas that on any other given day you would be able to walk.
Wait a second. Is any of that true?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
let's start from the beginning. El Nino isn't so much a thing as it is a pattern. During a neutral, or La Nina, the opposite of El
Which
Nino,
means the baseball is going to end up traveling farther. All we need is a little heat. And it is going to be plenty hot. As this home run derby kicks off around 6 o'clock, we're looking at temperatures. This whole process, though, of the Earth revolving around the sun is essentially meaningless in our seasons. It has nothing to do with why today is fall. Why today is fall has to do not with the spinning motion, but the tilt of the Earth, Casey, if you will. So we'll take one of our handy dandy globes here. You ever buy one of these from a store and notice it is not straight up and down, it is tilted? There's a reason for that. The Earth in reality is tilted on its axis, and that has huge implications on our seasons. Lights, please. Now, tomorrow's forecast very different, so we're going to follow this thing. There's your landfall into Wednesday near Panama City Beach. Where it goes from there, 10 miles, folks, is going to make a huge difference for residents in the Circle City of Dothan. If this is 10 miles off to the west, we're going to get a hurricane still in southeast Alabama. If this goes 10 miles off to the east, we'll get a lot of wind, we'll get a lot of rain, but this is not going to be Opal-esque for the Wiregrass with any more shifting off to the east. This is why we're watching the models very closely today. We still are very confident, though, this part's not going to change. Anywhere from Panama City Beach to Apalachicola, getting into the Big Bend of Florida, you see in that purple shading, catastrophic damage here is going to be likely through the day on Wednesday. Sustained winds of 100+ miles an hour will be possible. You'll have storm surge, perhaps of 10 feet. Coastal flooding is going to be a big problem there. I think it's going to change the landscape through part of the coastline, especially if it ends up making landfall a little stronger than currently advertised. The effects here, though, locally, we will lose the tropical storm conditions north of Troy. We will lose them west of Andalusia. So the closer you get to I-65 and I-85, the lower the impacts are going to be. That's not to say we're not going to get rain in the capital city. We will. And it will be breezy both today and then especially tomorrow. But you're not going to get widespread power outages out of this. It's going to be the Wiregrass where this is really going to be the big ticket affair. Timing in the Wiregrass, conditions will start going downhill early Wednesday morning. You'll get more of these rain bands to pivot in. We'll start watching the wind speeds pick up. We think the worst of the weather in the Wiregrass is going to begin in the afternoon and run all the way to about midnight early Thursday morning. You will note on this graphic, at no point do I light up any tornado threat, and this is the big kicker, and it's a good thing. We're on the left side of this landfalling hurricane. Remember, the worst tornado threat is along and east of that center track, of which Alabama will not be a part of. We're spared from the tornado threat here, not spared, though, from the heavy rain and certainly the risk of widespread power outages getting into southeast Alabama. Exclusive 7-day forecast.